It wasn't easy, but we finally got our cow bred using AI. If you're having a hard time getting your family cow bred using AI, we'll tell you how hormones can help you in this video.
One of the reasons we started homesteading in the first place was to have food that had less hormones, less antibiotics, less pesticides. So why then are we using hormones when getting our cows bred? We decided when we were going to breed our cows to do artificial insemination. And probably the biggest reason why was because we feel very strongly as newer cow owners, family cow owners, it's an unsafe thing to bring a bull onto our homestead. We're new to these animals, we have small children, and even very experienced cow handlers, people who work with cows every day, have been surprised, hurt, injured, even killed by bulls. So for us, and we feel for most of you watching, bringing a bull onto your farm is probably not what's best. Artificial insemination allows you to breed a cow without a bull ever having to be on your farm. Excuse me, ladybug. Feed her every day.
Then she'd like you.
Come on, ladybug. Let's go, girl. I should feed her.
Step. This with the snow, gorgeous. Better.
There you go, hon. Not only does AI save you from needing to have a bull on your property, it also allows you to choose from some really good genetics. You can buy a straw from a bull who has amazing quality genetics to have your cow bred to, and you don't have to have them shipped across the country.
For us, ideally, we would have been able to get her bred using AI without the use of syncing hormones. Just because it would have saved us some money. Plus, we wouldn't have been having to give her shots, which, as you know, Austin was not a fan of. But it didn't work out that way. Our little warming up concoction here. As we have found in the 10 years of homesteading so often, our ideals and the reality can be two different things. Breeding her was difficult because she's a single cow with just her calf. So picking up her signs of heat and when she was ready to be bred was very challenging. Even though we knew she was coming into heat by the bleed off she showed after, the pregnancy tests kept coming back after the AIs as negative. So with 2 tries at AI on a natural cycle, we missed her both times and we got back the negative blood tests. For us as family cow owners, one of the main reasons we have a cow is to get milk. She was nearing the end of her lactation, which means she's dry. We're not milking her. She's also unbred, and that opens you up to a whole host of problems. You could get a cow that gets too fat because she's not producing the milk that she should be, which means fat around her internal organs is going to make her increasingly harder to breed. Also, we're putting a lot of money into this cow, even if it's just with the hay we're buying during the winter, and we're not getting any product back. As a small homestead, it's just not something we can afford to do, to have a cow that's not producing anything for us. So because it was so challenging for us to breed her on a natural heat, and we need her to become pregnant again so she provides milk for our family, we decided to use the hormones to sync her cycle so we could breed her AI, hopefully successfully this time. although we do try to avoid pesticides, chemicals, hormones in our food, it's nice to know in the research we did before we started syncing her to learn that these hormones are naturally occurring in the cow's system already. The milk that we're drinking has hormones in it. A pregnant cow's milk has hormones in it. And the 2 hormones that are used in syncing her are produced naturally by the cow.
The method that we used to sync our cows, there are a few different methods in hormone syncing. The method we used is called Ovsynch 56. And before we dive into it and the different hormones and the different drugs, I just want to remind you, we're not vets. We're not telling you what to do. We're going to try to be as clear and concise as possible, mentioning the drug names, the hormone names. We'll have links below with all the actual data from vets and the drug suppliers so you can double check everything for you and your own needs. So basically what Ovsynch 56 does is it mimics the natural cycle that the cow already is doing, producing the hormones that would already be found, 2 hormones in particular. One of them, GNRH, the other Prostaglandin. There's the 2 hormones. The drug for GNRH is called Cystoreline. The drug to replicate prostaglandin is called Lutalyse. Those are the particular drug brand names that we used. There may be other brands out there. I'm just letting you know which ones we actually used in this method. So let's talk about each of those hormones. The GNRH hormone is a naturally occurring hormone in the cows that essentially kind of get the whole process started. That hormone is responsible for releasing 2 more hormones, LH and FSH. Those 2 hormones enhance the growth of follicles. I like to think of GNRH as the Baha Men hormone.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
He gets everything started by releasing the other hormones. Essentially, he let the dogs out.
Bah.
Just to break it up. The next hormone that you use in this process is prostaglandin, and the drug name that we use, the drug brand, Lutalyse. Prostaglandin is another naturally occurring hormone in the cow's uterus that allows the further maturation and ovulation of the dominant follicle. I like to think of this hormone as the Morpheus hormone.
He is the one.
It identifies the chosen one and allows it to mature and be dominant.
I know Kung Fu. Show me.
Mm-hmm. You there with me, Nance?
Yes, so good. Yeah, that's good.
The syncing with the drugs is simply emulating what the cow naturally already does. The cow's body is already releasing these hormones. This process just allows us to mimic that process, almost take control of that process, releasing those hormones ourselves so that we could time it perfectly for when our AI tech shows up and actually does the impregnating of the cow. I got some yummies for you. Let's go. Okay,
Come on, Anna. All right, Poppy, you messed that up.
come on, hun.
Now, it's a very specific time schedule for you to give these shots. That's one of the advantages of it. You're going to know exactly when your cow is coming into heat. Even if your cow doesn't show signs of heat, her body is still prepared for that egg to be fertilized. You don't like that dog sniffing at your butt, do you? Your first day at whatever specific time you pick For us, it was Sunday at 10 a.m., 2 cc's of the Cystoreline. Then following Sunday, 1 week later, was 5 cc's of the Lutalyse, 10 a.m., same time. Then 56 hours later, after the Lut shot, so Tuesday at 6 p.m., we gave 2 cc's of the Cystoreline. Then 16 hours after that, the next day, Wednesday, at 10 a.m., we had our AI tech here to do the breeding.
Oh yeah!
We will include links to this breeding, this schedule, so you know exactly what we were doing here.
While you can get these shots from a vet directly, we found that to be way too expensive. You can buy the actual drugs on valleyvet.com. You will need a vet's prescription to order the drugs, so find out how your local large animal vet handles that sort of thing. And then you can buy by the bottle the doses that you're going to need, and you'll actually have enough in each bottle to do multiple doses. We found we could get a 30 milliliter bottle of Lutalyse for about $20, and we could get a 10 milliliter bottle of the Cystoreline for about $14. So that entire system, 3 shots, each attempted breeding is going to cost you about $10 in drug costs, not including your AI tech or whatever you're going to spend on your semen. Don't forget, you're also going to need to buy syringes and needles, and what we used for our livestock were 5 milliliter or 5 cc syringes. You can use 1 inch or 1.5 inch needles. They are intramuscular shots. I did not love giving these shots, as many of you who follow our vlog have seen. And if you're new to giving shots, it will not be a fun experience, but it's not too difficult of a shot to give. I'm completely new at this, and it was something I was able to handle. Oh man, done. Let's hope that makes a baby. Just make sure your cow is properly restrained when you go to give the cow these shots. They don't like the needles any more than we do.
As a mother, I want to feed my kids the best thing, and we've been trained in this Whole Foods homesteading community that hormones in anything we eat is bad. But milk is full of hormones. The breast milk we produce for our babies has hormones in it because that's what's making our bodies produce this milk. The same thing applies to a cow's milk. It has hormones in it. Now these hormones, as we've mentioned before, are produced by the cows themselves. And if we're using them to help us sync their ovulation to better increase our chances of the AI being successful, there have been studies done on the milk and the meat. Recently in another video we interviewed the cow vet, Cody Creelman, who has a YouTube channel as well. And this is what he had to say about the testing that goes into these things.
So what happens is we give an animal a drug, and then we look at the peak plasma concentration. So we take blood samples serially after we give that drug, and it gives us a nice curve, so we know when their peak plasma concentration, the concentration in their blood is, and when it's completely depleted. So we know when there is no more of that drug in the animal system. Now we take it one step further with meat and milk withdrawal times, is we add a safety factor in there. Often that safety factor is hundreds of times longer than it needs to be, but we put it in there to accommodate food safety. There
have been studies done on the milk and the meat, and there's no withdrawal time for the milk or the meat for these animals who are being treated with these hormones. And if you want to go check out Cody's channel, As a family cow owner, I find it very educational and fascinating on so many different levels. Go check it out. Now, there are some handling precautions if you are like me, pregnant or of childbearing age, that the companies themselves issue, because these are hormones that our bodies produce as well that can be used to induce labor. So follow precautions when handling these drugs. I used my husband to administer them, so if you can do that, that's what's advised.
So if you are having trouble breeding your family cow or any cow, and you're interested in trying this technique, we do have a couple helpful reminders for you. First, make sure before you start any of this, you have your AI guy booked for the actual breeding time. Find out, hey, 2 months from now, a month from now, on this day at 11 o'clock, can you be here? Sure, okay, and then work backwards, putting that schedule. You wouldn't want to spend all the money and time doing all this only to call your AI guy that week and find out he's too busy to come that week.
As always, when breeding your cows, they have to be in the proper condition. If your cow is too thin, this isn't going to help her much getting bred. You need to bring up her condition so she has the weight and the health to sustain a pregnancy. We're also using this to AI our heifer. Even though it might not have as good results as it did on the cow, there is some debate about whether it works as well for a heifer or not, simply because of timing it with our AI technician. He goes miles and miles around in this area, so if a day that I see her coming into heat, she could be AI'd, he could be in another county. So it's just to work with him and her natural heat's a little better to try to get everybody here on the same day and ready. A little besprinkle.
Most of us are drawn to the idea of owning a family cow or a couple cows on our homestead to feed our families the best quality food that we can and to provide the nicest life possible for the animals themselves.
I really have grown attached to this cow. We spent a lot of time together. So the idea of not being able to get her rebred, which would make her basically just too expensive of a pet for us to keep and just being sent to the butcher, I just couldn't bear that thought. We also financially invested a lot in a disease-free cow. Once you start shopping for a cow, you realize that that's not quite as easy as you think it will be. For us, we just can't afford to replace her. So it was worth it for me to do the research into syncing with the hormones to keep her disease-free status, but also to make sure we got her bred.
So maybe you have ideals like we did when we started our family cow, and if you're able to breed your cow in a more natural way, that's excellent. But if you're having a hard time breeding a cow, don't be afraid to look into the solution of syncing your cow's cycle with the use of hormones. It's what we did, and now we have a calf on the way, and hopefully we'll find out soon, maybe a second one.
Buddha.
Good?
Yep.
Filming now?
If you'd like to help us keep producing this show and keep sharing this story, we've only been able to do that with your help. Become a Homesteady Pioneer. It is the #1 way we're able to produce the show. And if you're interested in becoming a pioneer, you can check out everything with the Homesteady Pioneer program. You learn more about it by clicking here or watching this video.